Okay, under the motion, this House would focus on developing water-related discoveries more than space one. I'd like to invite the first speaker of Proposition Side, and since there's not a lot of people today, it's going to be a 2-2 debate.
Fellow honored judge and fellow debaters, Judge, opposition is painting a world where space is our one way out. However, we proposition think it is cowardly. Wouldn't it be better to at least try and save our world? People living on this earth, scientists, space companies, and water companies alike, they all focus on what they do to get in some money. However, there's a lot of aspects of safety for this. In sea-related discoveries, you can generally keep track of who's missing, who has gone missing, and what islands and seabeds there are. However, in space, there is no water, no food, not even oxygen, and people still want to find a way to to find a world where they have these things, but not what we ruined. And in sea, we have seabeds, we have islands, and if we took more time and money to find where these seabeds, sea islands, and how to save our Earth with the sea, we could easily find people who have gone missing, who are going to go missing, and who has gone missing. They could, in on islands, they could easily cook fish, find berries and food.
POI,
Yes.
you said that it's hard to breathe in space, but it's also really difficult to breathe in underwater too.
However, you can always rise for air. In space, there is no way to rise for air. The only way is down. And if you're stuck in space, you cannot breathe. Does that answer your POI?
Yes.
Also, we are not pushing for space-related discoveries to stop, but just pushing for water-related discoveries to go on further. Also, if we focused on water technology, it is just as important to save space ones. Because if animals and coral started dying, then our sea would start dying too. Also, one day we could, if we focus on space related water related discoveries, we could find a way, we might be able to find a way of breaking down junk. Therefore, we can save the ocean from going into a plastic paradise. We could say if we found this, then people would stop accidentally eating microplastic in fish, and sea animals wouldn't get stuck in old plastic containers. In medieval times, they used boats to claim land, and sea was an important factor of Earth's growth. So now we should help it grow to become as big as Earth. This is because sea is almost half our world, and it is very important and it's really important to go to fix the sea when instead of space because it is a bigger part of our world. Therefore, we proposition don't want to run away and just fix the thing instead of becoming scared. Thank you for listening to my speech.
Thank you for that wonderful speech. First speaker of opposition, please come up to the podium.
This House believes that our immediate focus and resources should be directed towards our homeland and finding a new one. Even though water is important for humans to survive, we already have enough information about it, whereas we don't have as much information on space. Space is also more important for humanity's long-term survival, as if we establish colonies on other planets, we wouldn't have to rely on Earth and its resources as we do now, and the human race would have a likelier chance of surviving. As then, if one planet is affected by a disaster, we would be able to thrive on the next. Furthermore, our planet is damaged by climate change already, and will be even more with our current president. We shouldn't have to rely on Earth to survive. And as that is, our Earth resources will run out eventually. It may be expensive to research more about space, but if all the countries work together and each put in some money, looking into the future would be saving lives. What is money worth, like, if you're not surviving?
You
What's the
are.
water worth?
Since our world is already going through climate change, like you stated, isn't your side just sugarcoating this and running away from our Earth because it is going through climate change and you don't think you're going to save desperate Earth anymore? This will continue on the new planet we're going to live on because you guys will just give up at the point where you don't think you can solve anymore.
We'd probably be able to learn from our previous mistakes on this Earth, and we already have technology to improve and create green gas, renewable energy. So if we use that knowledge on our new planet, then we'd hopefully be able to stay on that one planet without destroying it. Does that answer your question? Okay.
All right, thank you for that speech. I'd like to call upon the second speaker of proposition, which is me. Okay. Assuming I'm visible and audible, I'd like to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judge, I do not get why opposition is sugarcoating this horrible event into an event that will barely impact anyone, framing this into a technological development when it is not exclusive either. They clearly do not get why water-related developments or sea-related ones are just as technologically advanced or need to be technologically advanced just as the space ones. Yes, as a proposition, we are aware that space-related discoveries are going on and they are impacting our society from SpaceX to NASA, but we need to be clear that we are not completely stopping this from happening. We are just pushing the sea-related activities more than the space-related ones, like our first speaker said. Please listen. Opposition seems to fail to acknowledge the fact that sea discoveries have to be more emphasized because of the following reasons. Number 1, water is essential for life, but space isn't. Number 2, the environment is reliant of water, and we can hardly find anything like it, even if we do any type of discovery possible. There are things that are just impossible, and there are things that we just can't find with the technology we're going to discover as well. Number 3, if we keep on striving to find a new planet because Earth is so desperate, in other words, is just running away from Earth. The same things would happen to any other planet we live on, like I asked in my POI, which wasn't answered properly. The opposition is not exclusive because they only focus on the technological developments held by space without acknowledging the cost. Well, they did acknowledge the cost, but they didn't weigh it. Or the materials we have on Earth. They have no mechanism. The very first ways of discovering land was by boat, and boats were often a really important architecture in the medieval times and in the ancient times. Not only are we preserving culture, we are also directly knowing the fact that this is not superficial. We could do many experiments on sea and not lose as much materials as we do on space, eventually harming our outer space as well. Now that I've proven why sea-related discoveries are just as important and how the other side is not exclusive, I'd like to directly engage with the other sides with my rebuttals. Agnella stated that in her main argument on how and why we already know and we have enough info about water, and space does not, so we need to discover space. While this may be true, we are not stopping the space discoveries. We are just pushing on water because water has more exclusivity, like how it's more essential for life. Our climate is already going through climate change, so they're choosing to run away. This will happen. They choose to learn from previous mistakes, but how are they going to do this when they're not even trying to solve their mistakes and just run away? With all the rebuttals done, let's move on to my first argument on the preservation of the environment and what our new planet would look like. It is a valid point that scientists over time have found fossil lands that we could live on, like Mars, or like other planets that are super far away that's very similar to Earth. But this is not even close to what it feels like living on Earth. Earth is our firm foundation, and this is what was provided to us in the first place. The water on Earth is vulnerable, and we need to learn to keep it and turn it into the water we are provided with. We have learned as a community to deal and bear with the challenges that we faced over time. For example, ancient times not being able to communicate with other people, and so we developed languages. And then we developed telephones to communicate longer distances, and now we have cell phones to communicate wherever we want to. So it doesn't make sense that we're suddenly giving up on something that we can bear with. And please, let's try. While space discoveries are well to be seen, there may be a window of opportunity for us to live in a better life without much climate change because there's a completely new planet. Water discoveries can act as a solution to climate change that is useful and will benefit our society more. And also, what if we focused on purifying water and keeping it healthy in order to keep people safe rather than just run away from a planet we belong on? So proud to propose. Okay, second speaker of opposition, please. This is the last speech.
Hello, fellow judges and fellow debaters. I will be for the opposition last speaker. So, focusing on space exploration or discoveries would provide more technological advancements from the artifacts from space. For example, freeze-dried food, satellites, AI, and robotics are all developed from space. Also, space exploration helps develop more influence to younger generations, and space exploration would be invested in more for more discovery. Additionally, some home appliances have been used by space exploration, like cordless vacuums or cordless other machines. If there's a space race like the past of our world, wouldn't wouldn't actually wouldn't actually discovering new things, and we would only worry about other countries trying to beat our country. So if all the world leaders would work together and then combine forces and
You know
discover new
why?
things, yes.
What are the chances that every single country would agree on the same thing?
Not every country, but like countries like trying to develop in space. So like in the past we had the Soviet Union versus USA. If we could have two like big countries combine forces and use their technology together, they could help create more advancements in space. Does that answer your POI?
Yes.
So if we compare water discovery to discovery, currently more space rockets are being more sent than submarines underwater. Space rockets that are sent into space are always found into new results with like going to Mars with space rovers or trying to find more minerals or asteroids. Underwater discovery only finds sunken ships or sunken artifacts.
You know why?
Yes.
We have found various different species of animals, and we have found what our water can do and the minerals that are in it through the discoveries that we had. While it is true that space discoveries also gain a lot of things, water discoveries do have it too. And our side is not stopping the space discoveries from happening. So, what do you say about this?
Well, water discovery is also important, but space discovery is more infinite, and water discovery is only limited in the world, in Earth's water. So, because due to space being infinite, the world can always advance their technology rockets and they can always go more further in space. However, water discovery is only limited into a certain space. Does that answer your PY?
Sure.
So, space exploration includes planets, maybe aliens, rocks, minerals, asteroids, and meteorites. And last, if you consider lakes on planets that are technically space exploration, that are technically so if you consider lakes on planets like water exploration, they are technically space exploration because you're going in space, and while the water is also in space, it is considered space exploration.
Thank you for that debate. I'm going to provide my feedback soon. Okay, so feedback time. I'll give my verdict later after I give individual feedback. And so I'll go in the order that you spoke. Sophia, I think your speech is much better than last time because you got to speak for a longer time. You spoke for like over 3 minutes and you were able to explain each point and weigh it to some extent. You also learned to characterize this debate by mentioning the stakeholders and our team line and how this debate is important and why we should value this debate, which was very nice. But I feel like you were lacking of examples. Although you gave examples on like, oh, there's islands. There's a chance that people will land on islands and they can just cook fish and like eat berries and stuff like that. But what are the chances? Like, right? So if I was opposition, although the opposition never did this, I could just be like the likelihood weighing that we talked about today. What is the likelihood of this happening in the proposition side? Something like this, right? But your speech was very well organized, and I see, since I was in the same prep room as you, I see that you tried to use the bullet points, which was nice, and you tried to like freestyle a little bit, and you tried to like expose your thoughts more. But I feel like you could improve a lot more, and you could improve a lot more by giving like more examples and giving the impact on how this would impact the world. So your speech was generally really nice. Aniela's speech, your speech was almost the opposite of Sophia. So your speech was very nice too. And your speech had quite a lot of examples. And your speech has a lot of impact, but it didn't have mechanism. So when you said, especially to the answers to my POI, although there was no POIs given to, although there was only one POI given to Sophia. So Aniela, you said basically from my POI that when I asked, oh, aren't you just like running away from Earth then? You just said, oh, we can learn from our previous mistakes and this won't happen again. This is a very good point, but you didn't, this is a one-liner, and you didn't explain how we can learn from our mistakes. In fact, you stated, oh, we're going through this, we're going through this, we're going through this. Nothing. No solution, right? So you have to state a solution. And but learning from your previous mistakes, your ideas were very nice. And I think it was very well structured. Your speech timing was a little short, but it was still better than last time. The very first debate you did, which was like 1 minute something. It's an improvement. And the answer to your POI sounded really confident. But you have to work on the speech presentation, I think, while Sophia has to work more on the mechanization. I mean, more on the the arguments. I think Aniela, you have to work on like how you present your speech, like your confidence behind it, and something like that. And for my speech, I can't really give like direct feedback to mine because I wrote it. But I feel like you guys should like kind of do what I did. So have a structure in what you do. So I feel like Aniela, you did rebut to Sophia about how, okay, your rebuttal slightly, your argument again, your rebuttal slightly, and then rebuttal and an argument, something like that. So it wasn't very organized, but it was structured. But my one, if you could notice, was just rebuttal and argument, right? So you guys could just keep track of where I was going, and you guys could know which team I was talking about. And I signposted a lot. So like when I said, now that I have proven why the sea-related discoveries are important and how the other side is not exclusive, I'd like to directly engage with the other side with my rebuttals. This is basically saying I'd like to move on to my rebuttals. Okay? But once you say this, it'll be easier for the judge to realize what you're saying, and it's way easier for the judge to like notice what you're trying to say and like remember what you said, like when they were judging. So for Aiden, I feel like your speech was very nice. You had the main points organized, and Yella and Aiden, somehow you did a very good prep time. And I think your speeches were very consistent, talking about mainly the similar things, about how we have already enough info about water. And Aiden, you're the one who gave the best examples, but you didn't give a lot of strong rebuttals. Like today we learned about weighing in our lecture time, but I don't feel like a lot of you use the weighing technique. So I feel like we should practice that a little more. But Aiden, you gave an example which I didn't know about fries, frozen fruit or something like that. But you gave lots of examples of what space discoveries had led to until now, and that's very good. Some things that I didn't even realize that I noticed during your speech was that examples given by you were very effective to your team, because Anyela basically say how space needs more discoveries. You say how space already has discoveries and needs more discoveries, which kind of like extended onto Anyela, which was really nice. I don't know if this was a coincidence or not. Probably you planned it. But I still think that your rebuttals to mine and the POI answers, because Anyela and you both talked about how the importance of all countries combining, or many countries combining, is important, but you never really explained how that would work. So you need to explain that. So I feel like Anyela and Aiden, your basic points were nice, but you don't have explanation behind it nor analysis. So you need to work on that. And Sophia, I feel like you just need to give better example. You just need to mechanize more. So yeah, and my verdict goes to proposition side this time, because of the fact that Sophia and my speech were more organized in terms of what our arguments were. For example, our first argument on safety, we gave 3 points behind it. Water tech, we gave 3 points behind it. And our environmental impact, this was a negative case, which was why the other team would be worse than ours. Well, this was a very close debate, though. How your side didn't really give comparisons. You guys only talked about your side while not talking about our side. So I think if you improve on that, we can definitely win the next debate. Thank you.